This is the Kia XCeed. Yes, I've reviewed one a couple of months ago, but this one, it has a cable sticking out of it. What's that all about?
The Kia XCeed debuted in 2019. At first it was available with a 1-liter 120 horsepower petrol turbo, 1.4 140 horsepower petrol turbo and 1.6 204 horsepower petrol turbo engine, as well as with a 1.6 136 horsepower diesel. All are front-wheel drive. At launch, Kia also announced a PHEV would come in later, also in front-wheel drive. And here it is. You can charge this car from an electric socket, drive several dozen kilometers in zero emissions mode, and then the car will switch into classic hybrid mode, like for example a Prius. More on that later. The XCeed is the fourth body type based on the Ceed hatchback. So we have the hatchback, the station wagon, the shooting brake, and the XCeed is the crossover. Kia claims it designed the XCeed by accident, but as catchy as it may sound, I suppose it was more of a quick reaction to the changing market situation. Today everyone needs a crossover in just about every segment, so Kia needed something between the Stonic and the Sportage. And yes, there is the Niro, but I think I'm one of the only 3 people who like the Niro, and the XCeed looks more modern and hip, and it can compete with the likes of the Mazda CX-30 and the Volkswagen T-Roc. Kia XCeed looks like the love child of the Pro Ceed and the Sportage. The XCeed is 8.5 centimeters longer than the Ceed. It's got 3.5 centimeters more ground clearance, and under normal circumstances, it also has a 30 liters larger boot. But this is a PHEV, so some sacrifices had to be made in the name of efficiency.
At 291 liters, the boot is 100 liters smaller than in the hatchback. Because of the traction battery, there is no double floor and no storage underneath it. There is no spare wheel. There is nowhere to store the parcel shelf when you fold the back seats. Just next to the sill is this small storage here where theoretically the charging cable may fit, but only if you fold it away very neatly, something you'll probably never bother doing. Anyway, the charging cable lives in your garage. There is a 12-volt socket, a couple of shopping bag hooks. There are also anchor points on the floor to secure something larger. The seats split 40-20-40, and what I shall demonstrate right now, they are spring-loaded, so you don't really have to lean in to push them. Also, depending on the market, an electric tailgate may be an option, or it may even be standard. Unfortunately, on this one, it's only in the higher trim level.
The XCeed electrification happened at the expense of the boot and the fuel tank. As a result, the interior was unaltered. But don't get me wrong, the back seat is still nothing to write home about. However, at least headroom and legroom were not affected. For example, in the Kia e-Soul, batteries under the floor mean you sit with your legs higher than you'd expect just by looking at the car from the outside. In the XCeed PHEV, legroom and headroom are average. There are door pockets with places for bottles, an armrest with cup holders, air vents, but there is still no 12-volt socket or a USB charging port. Looking at the car from the outside, it is hard to tell the PHEV from a regular XCeed. The two differences are the charging port flap behind the rear left fender and a solid grille. Inside there are just 3 buttons that make the PHEV different from the regular petrol or diesel cars. One is next to the gear lever, that's for changing between the EV and HEV modes. The second is the driver-only button on the AC panel, that's to conserve energy by cooling or heating only the driver. And the third button is to activate or deactivate charging schedule, and it's located over the driver's left knee.
I get the impression Kia made a conscious decision to make hybrid models as ordinary as possible. More about it later when we hit the road. And now a few words about the cockpit.
This test car gets Kia's SuperVision digital instrument cluster. The greeting and the goodbye graphics are like from a computer game, This could be a so-called pre-production car, because the speedo is scaled to 240 km per hour, but the hybrid model's top speed is 160 km per hour, up to 185 with 18-inch wheels. Press photos show the speedo with top speed of 160. Higher spec cars get the UVO Connect infotainment system, which communicates online with an UVO Connect mobile app. I'm recording this at the end of May 2020 in Poland, and the app was unavailable in the Polish version of the Google Play Store, so I downloaded the APK file from an external source and registered as the car owner. I can check the car's location, lock and unlock the doors, I can send destination to SatNav. The app seems as if it were ready for more functions like preconditioning, but that doesn't seem to work. I contacted Kia regarding UVO, and by the time you're watching this review, the app should be normally available through official app stores. However, preconditioning is reserved for fully electric Kia e-Niro and e-Soul. There are good-sized door pockets, decent-sized storage under the armrest and in the glove box, cup holders, USB ports and a 12-volt socket, a place for the phone. Everything is where you'd expect it to be, and everything is useful.
Let's talk PHEV. That's the most advanced of the hybrid systems and the closest to a fully electric car, but without the range anxiety. You can charge the traction battery from an electric socket, but once you're out of energy, the petrol engine kicks in.
In the XCeed PHEV, traction batteries have just below 9 kWh capacity, and they are good for about 50-something kilometers. In city traffic, this is doable. Charging from a Type 2 socket takes about 3 hours, but with batteries this small there is no point installing a wall box at home, so charging from a regular 230-volt socket should take about 5 hours.
Once you're below a certain level of energy, the car goes into regular hybrid mode, where the electric motor helps the petrol engine or takes over in some instances to optimize efficiency. Kia promises the XCeed PHEV will use just 1.4 liters per 100 kilometers, but in real life it's like below 4 liters. I'm right now averaging 3.2 or something. On the first day I drove about 150 kilometers on petrol engine or in hybrid mode because I depleted all the energy in the traction batteries, and since then I've been charging the car every day, and I'm averaging 3.2, 3.4.
Beside the electric drivetrain, the XCeed PHEV is powered by a 1.6-liter normally aspirated 105 horsepower petrol engine. The whole powertrain produces 140 horsepower and 265 Nm of torque. The XCeed PHEV takes 11 seconds from 0 to 100 km per hour, which is only slightly quicker than the 3-banger 1-liter turbo. But the PHEV's torque means it performs somewhat better at speed. It takes 8.1 seconds from 80 to 120 km per hour, which is only slightly slower than the manual 1.4 turbo. Here we have a 7-speed double-clutch transmission. Theoretically, you can use a sport mode and change gears by yourself, but don't bother.
In electric mode, the XCeed PHEV will go as fast as 120 km per hour, but you need to be careful because if you press the accelerator too hard, the petrol engine will kick in. But don't worry about the cold engine. On colder days, the engine will start as soon as you start the car, and even if you're moving on electric power, the engine will work for a while to warm up. And it also sounds terrible because it revs high, kind of like if you applied choke in an older car. Earlier, I said it seems as if Kia wants to make its hybrid cars as normal, as ordinary as possible. In the XCeed PHEV, it's hard to find any hybrid mode data. There is no recuperation level adjustment, or no noticeable recuperation for that matter. There is no way to recharge the batteries on the go. You can only maintain the charge level by putting the car into sport mode. This is supposed to be a normal car for normal people, and the only thing you need to do is to plug it in for the night. More advanced users can buy one of the two electric Kias, the e-Soul or e-Niro.
Just like in the ordinary XCeed, also here you get driver aids, such as the active cruise control and lane keeping assist. This semi-autonomous driving mode is nicely implemented, although not as well as, for example, in the new Golf.
Depending on the spec, the XCeed PHEV can weigh even 300 kilograms more than the basic petrol model, or over 200 kilograms more than the 1.4 turbo I tested several months ago. It's like having 3 additional passengers with you at all times, and you can feel it during cornering, during braking, going over potholes or speed bumps. In the petrol car, the hydraulic bump stops in the front evened out any potholes, but here, although the bump sound is muffled, the vibration is carried over through the chassis, and that's something I've never experienced in any other car. But maybe Kia assumes the PHEV is for the people who want to save money and who will drive slowly, because fuel economy results are very motivating, and even with the reduced petrol tank from 50 to 37 liters, you can easily do 700 plus kilometers without refueling. And if you just putter around town and recharge every night, you could soon forget what the inside of a petrol station looks like.
Prices of the regular Kia XCeed start at €21,400, €23,900 if you want to go for the same spec level that the PHEV starts at. And perhaps we should compare it to the 1.4 turbo DCT, so that's $26,500. The XCeed PHEV starts at 36 grand, so the question is, how long would it take in your market to offset the €9,500 price difference? In Poland, the PHEV is significantly cheaper, but we don't get any incentives on hybrids, so it would take about 3 years driving this car 100 kilometers a day just to break even.
And what's it like in your market? Does buying a plug-in hybrid make financial sense? Are there any financial or non-monetary benefits, like using bus lanes or maybe free parking? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, subscribe and join me every Friday, or just click one of the links on the screen. Also, I started a new channel about the gear I use for filming my shoestring budget car reviews. It's called Marek's Gear. Feel free to check it out and subscribe as well. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.